You are listening to the Add Water and Stir podcast, where we have candid conversations about fostering, adopting, and parenting children of color. I am adoptive Black mom of the blog of the same name.
And I'm Mimi from the blog, MimiRobinsonOnline.com.
If you're new to our show, please check out all of our previous episodes on our site at waterandstirpodcast.com, or you can check us out on iTunes or Stitcher or your favorite podcast app. So you've tuned in to our special series on the show, This Is Us. And today we're talking about episode 13. It's called 3 Sentences. So here's the little mini recap before we get all into the nutty details. So Jack and Rebecca try to throw Kate, Kevin, and Randall 3 separate birthday parties. Randall has trouble making time for his father, William. Kevin makes a decision regarding his romantic life, and things take a turn with Kate's gastric bypass surgery. As in previous episodes, we are now breaking down our recaps by character in order of least interested for us to most interested. So this week I have mocked up my least interesting to most interesting. So I'm going to start off with Kevin. So
that's who I picked too. Yes.
That's who you picked? Yeah, I'm just not here for him. Although I've learned a lot more about him and kind of what I think some of his issues are. Anyway, so Kevin's whole life seems to be about finding his identity for himself and figuring out what he wants and what he wants to do. He is really kind of messed up after the whole Sloane Olivia fiasco from the previous episodes. He ends up hanging out with Toby. Toby hopes to help him with his love life and get his love life back on track. So we find out that Kevin is still in love with a girl that he apparently has loved since elementary school. Her name is Sophie. He goes and professes his love for her on her doorstep. Apparently, we find that they were married at some point and are now divorced. She isn't dismissive, but makes some kind of comment akin to him being a fan of drama. And again, this kind of running theme of grand gestures. Meh. So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of felt like that too. In my notes, when Toby and Kevin were talking, and Toby wants Kevin to do this visualization exercise to pick who is true love. He says, you have one shot, 3 sentences. Who is it? And I wrote, I don't care. I really do not care who is the grand love of Kevin's life. And he's such a dweeb. When he goes and talks to Sophie, he's an actor. It seems like he should be able to get this right, but he's all like ellipses, parentheses, comma. I'm like, what? That is not even cute. And actually, when she opened the door, I thought she was going to be like, yeah, well, I'm married. I got 2 kids. So this is right. Done. I really expected her to be like, there's nothing here for you, because she hasn't seen him in 12 years.
12 years.
Why are you here, dude? That is the ultimate get back. And well, but it's funny of a guy to just think, I haven't talked to you in 12 years, but I can just show up and then everything is going to be cool. We can just pick up from where we left off. Ugh.
Well, funny that you wrote, I don't care, because I think that that's Kevin's problem. Kevin always feels like nobody cares. And the reality is getting to the point where nobody does.
He has drama just for the sake of drama. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. So Kevin, good luck and Godspeed, but we don't really care. So moving on, I chose Kate as my next person on the rung. So we pick up with Kate being ambivalent about going through with the gastric bypass surgery. She ends up deciding to check into a fat camp. Instead of having Jillian Michaels run the fat off of her, she finds that the camp focuses on the emotional reasons folks are fat. And she immediately wants to bail. She catches the attention of some cute fellow who tends to the horses and tells her that the 2 of them are going to end up being an item. She tries not to be flattered because, she just got engaged. But you can kind of tell that she's like, yeah, I'm feeling myself. So she ends up flashing back to all of her disappointments and all of the sadness growing up, being a little fat kid, and ends up getting into the groove of that emotional piece in the fat camp and starts yelling and screaming and carrying on. We also learn through her flashbacks that apparently Jack dies when the kids are in high school or so. So think about Kate.
It's interesting that Kate, as well as most people, expect this camp to be, okay, I'm going to run and I'm going to lose all this weight and They're just going to work me hard. I'm going to eat lettuce. And that's what the camp is going to be about. And she was completely unprepared for having to work on her inner self. And that is way more scary than dealing with your external self, because you can lose the weight with enough hard work, but changing yourself, that opens you up to a whole bunch of vulnerabilities that she probably wasn't prepared for.
Totally.
The other thing that was interesting to me is Duke. And I think Duke is a predator. He works there.
Dang.
Let me tell you why.
What is he just like laying it on for the fat girls at the camp or something?
That's what I think. He works there. He's not a person who is there for the camp. I really feel like he is there, and every month some new ladies come and go. And so she just happens to be the one that he picked up this time. And so I think she should be very careful about him. I mean, you have all these ladies that come every month who probably dealing with issues of self-esteem and things like that. Right. And here you are, you decent looking, and you right there on the cabin. Who else they're gonna get with?
So he's like their bait, their emotional bait.
I think he preys on the women that are there. Like, if we found out that every time a new camp starts, he has a new boo, I don't think he should work there. And on top of that, that is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be working there. You're not supposed to be telling the ladies, like, I'm in cabin 13. Come on, stop by. We're going to get together. That is inappropriate.
So,
no,
okay, so I came to, no, I mean, I think that it's entirely possible. I came to a different conclusion of his made up backstory, apparently.
Oh, you thought he liked her for real?
No, I'm not saying that I thought necessarily that he liked her for real, but I just thought he was a thickums that liked the camp, was working on himself, and decided to stay and work there.
Oh, okay.
That's the backstory I created for him, despite the fact that I didn't really care. So, but he's better looking than Toby.
True.
I mean, he's a trade up from Toby.
He's creepy, though. It's just something about him that I really am not feeling. And even if that is, let's say that is the true story, that he was working on himself and then he decides to stay there, it's still inappropriate for him to be hitting on the women who come to the camp, because you are an employee of the camp. That's not what you're supposed to do.
Well, true. Yeah, I know. But
no, you're meeting people when they're most vulnerable.
This is true.
And then you're taking advantage of their vulnerabilities. I don't like them. Get out of here.
The interaction with him when he confronts her, he is pivotal in pushing her over the edge to stay. But I do think that you're right. I guess he is a predator. That's probably not the word I would have used to label him. But I'm guessing it's probably appropriate. Just sound a little strong and harsh. But who knows what will happen. And I'm sure that the storyline will be forced on us anyway. So, do we care anything else about Kate?
Well, what I like about this camp is, again, the focus on the reasons why, because I can relate to that. I'm an emotional eater. And so when I have challenges, when I'm sick, when I'm happy, every time I can eat something to either to make me feel better or to celebrate how good I'm feeling. So I really relate to that with Kate. And so I'm interested to see what else she learns at this camp.
If you look at the archives of like when Hope was first plays with me, I baked a cake every week.
You and that blue cake.
Complete with homemade buttercream frosting. Because I like cake. I like frosting more, and the cake was a frosting vehicle delivery system that was all emotionally driven. So, I'm feeling Kate. Anyway, so on to Jack and Rebecca. As the kids and Jack's birthday approach, the kids tell their parents that they want separate parties. Randall doesn't really seem all into it, but he reluctantly agrees. Jack and Rebecca are happy that their kids seem happy and healthy, even if they aren't really always happy and healthy. And they start to get misty-eyed about the fact that the kids aren't little anymore. Jack ends up getting sad because he can't cheer Kate up with one of his usual daddy loves you and daddy loves you no matter what talks. So Jack starts talking to Rebecca about wanting another child and maybe can we have another baby? And Rebecca's like, the last time we had this conversation we ended up with 3 kids, so negative. And no, we can't get a dog either.
Mhm.
So the parents plan 3 different parties for the children, and they quickly realize that Randall is pretty isolated. He leads a pretty isolated life at his school. He doesn't have any real friends, and he doesn't complain because he also doesn't want to upset his parents. Kate is sad because Kevin has managed to take over her party, and all of the girls are now over in his party. Kevin's need for attention is on full display as he puts on a show for all of the party goers, actor at even a very young age. But really, he only has eyes for Sophie. That's when we find out that like Sophie is his longtime boo. He tells Jack and Rebecca that he loves Sophie. And it's clear that Jack and Rebecca, that their kids are growing up and that they each have very unique issues, personalities, and personal challenges for each of the kids. So
there's a lot going on in those scenes about the birthday party. Besides the fact that I really don't think Randall was born on the same day, and they are pushing this everybody has the same birthday storyline. It was really sad to see what was going on with Randall. Randall's at a school. His parents don't really understand that the only reason why he has been invited to all these other birthday parties is because it's a rule that they have to invite the kids.
Right. And likely that rule is because of him.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, they probably put a rule like that in place to make sure that he's not excluded or kids like him are not excluded. And so he seems to be nonplussed about this. And what's interesting about that is you can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it as like he's very grown in the way he thinks about it. I have 3 good friends and they all came. I'm good. I don't need to hang around these people who are not my real friends. But the other way of thinking about this is he's already getting used to being rejected by other people around him. And he's made solace with that. And that's the part that's really kind of sad about it. And that his parents have no idea that this is happening. And I can see that happening. Even I have a 5-year-old and I don't know everything that happens with her in her interactions with kids. And I only find out through random conversations about why kids might not have played with her that day, or the fact that somebody said they had a birthday party. And I'm like, well, we didn't get an invite. And so you know that your children are going through things, but you don't know the full extent because they don't tell you everything.
Well, the other thing, though, I thought about this scene and this issue with Randall was, here we go again with another burden that the adoptee has to take on. Like, the adoptee is protecting his parents from drama that he's living.
Right.
And we hear this as a theme from some adoptees, that there's this kind of resentment. I mean, he seems nonplussed about it, but there's a resentment for kind of feeling like you have to protect the feelings of your parents. And he's just like, well, that's my job. And they're like, we're not upset. And he's like, yeah, you're upset, but it's cool. I can tell. He's very bright. He's precocious. He's far more mature than his siblings. And he seems like he's kind of made peace with it and the rejection. I mean, but this isn't the first time he's been rejected, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's dealing with the issue of feeling rejected from his birth family, right? And so there's just a kind of lot going on there.
So what do you think about the whole Kate and Sophie thing, which was also interesting from raising girls? Now, we already know that Kate has had some issues with other girls in her class who have rejected her because of her size. But now somehow she has kicked one of her other friends to the curb in order to be friends with Sophie, who what we see is Sophie is probably the epicenter of the cool girls, right? She's cute and, nice and whatever. And she's blonde, of course. And she's the best thing, So she is so excited about the fact that Sophie is coming to her party. It's a Madonna party. And now Kevin has pretty much taken her away from the party. And I just really felt bad because that is the worst. Like, you're having a party and then all your friends leave you to go hang out someplace else. Ugh.
So
how devastating.
Here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that Kevin stole her from the party. Dealing with this teenage drama girl situation I got in my house, I'm going to tell you what, girls are shady. We are some shady creatures. And I think that Sophie befriended Kate to get to Kevin.
Sophie did give Kevin a birthday card.
Right.
Mm.
And she wasn't invited to his party. And so she came with her little Madonna stuff. She came fashionably late. You check that? Did you check
Yeah,
it?
of
Like, because
course.
she made a grand entrance, right? And so you got that going. And I think that she is a cool girl, but I also think based on who followed who and how the whole scenes kind of end up wrapping, Kevin is probably the popular cute boy at school too. We know later that he's the star of the football team and she's probably like head cheerleader or something, later on in high school. And I think that they are the epicenter of 10-year-old kingdom. And Kate was just a vehicle to get the kingdom together.
Well, I feel even worse for Kate because you're so happy to be friends with the cool girl and eventually realizing that this was all a ruse. And the
Right.
parents kind of realize it. Jack says to Rebecca, this was really all about Sophie. This whole party, separate party thing was really to get Sophie to the party.
Yeah, I mean, Sophie is shady. Sophie's a little shady somebody too back in the day. And the thing about it is when they go and they're like, hey, Kevin, maybe, you can let the girls come on back over to the Madonna party. And he's like, but I love her. I love she.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, there's like a no-win kind of situation. And it's like Solomon split the baby. Do I make this kid unhappy or do I make
make him unhappy. He still has all those boys to play with. They should have sent all those girls on back in the other room. And how long is this party anyway? They have been at this house all day long. They're watching.
I know, because like when they
I was like 2 hours and this is up. All of y'all got to go home. Where are your parents? They have 45 kids or at least 30 something kids at the house. This is completely not in the 2016s because if I had a party like that, all the parents would be hovering around and making sure all their kids okay. But I don't think that they made the right decision there. I do think that they should have done something to break those parties up. You got a whole kid in the back just by herself. And you're like, okay, well, Kevin can keep all the kids in here with him.
So, yeah, there was just a lot going on in this scene. And in Jack and Rebecca's defense about what they should have done with the parties, parenting is a trial by fire, and some days you get it right, and some days you just, it's a cluster. And so anyway, now on to the people that we really care about, Randall and William. So now that William has stopped cancer treatment, his energy level is way up and he is ready to paint the town. Randall is fighting to be the lead on a really important project in Canada and needs to focus on his job, but William convinces him to come hang out, go shop, and go shopping for the day. After shopping, they find a particular soda that William wants to drink, and then they end up in a parking lot with Randall teaching his father how to drive his very expensive, nice car. So Randall seems torn between wanting to be competitive at work and spending time with his dad because he knows his dad's death is imminent. He is really trying to be patient with William, but he's frustrated until he realizes that this time together is really important and that they haven't had much time together. So he ends up blowing off the rest of the day and really kind of seems to finally relax. Meanwhile, Beth is somewhere looking fabulous, dressed fly, and eating yogurt. Like, why is she even dressed up?
You know what?
Go to work.
In my notes, I said, where is Beth going today? Like, what does Beth do all day? I know they have alluded to her wanting to work. So maybe has start working again, or maybe she's going to do brunch. And I am not mad at her. Wherever you were going, you were looking good.
I mean, but she was like, well, I have time to eat yogurt. And I was like, I just kept thinking, I was like, Beth got time to do whatever Beth wants, and I'm here for it. I just needed more screen time.
So the interesting part about this is when Randall was surprised that William was in such a great mood, Beth says that it's a chemo boost because his energy is not being sapped. And it happened with her dad when he stopped his treatment. So I'm like, oh, did we know that Beth's dad had cancer maybe or has passed away? I don't know if he's still living or has passed away. So that was an interesting little tidbit there. And then we get to see Randall at work. And Randall is like ambushed by Sanjay. That's his name? Sanjay. And clearly Randall doesn't like him. But they haven't met before. So what's that about? What do you think that's about?
Well, as we've always said, Mimi and I are IMing and texting like half the day away. And I was just like, oh my goodness, why do we have to get set up with the brown folks fighting amongst themselves for jobs and all kinds of stuff? And so I think that he was like, look, I'm good at my job. This new dude is not going to roll in and take my spot. I should have that project. You should have just given it to me and it shouldn't be a competition. But now I got to compete. So I'm going to like slam dunk you. And I think he is also accustomed to coming out on top in the ways that people measure success.
Well,
not the emotional ways that people measure success, but all of the external trappings of ways that people measure success. And so I felt like he didn't see this coming. And I almost felt like maybe this is his company's way of like, well, you ain't been around a while, much these last couple of months. So we're just going to let Sanjay just slip in here, take over this project. And Randall was like, oh, no, not today.
Well, I appreciate Randall sticking up for himself because a lot of times we see, ourselves as just, okay, well, if that's what they want. But at least Randall was like, no. Actually, I want a shot at this. And you're not going to just tell me that this is going to happen. He's going to have to work for it if you are going to take it away from me. So another note I had is William seemed to be unaccustomed to spending money, but he sure has gotten used to it now because he was spending up all Randall's money that day. He was just...
I was like, did Randall give him a card? Like,
I know. He wasn't at Target. He was at a boutique. I said, when did he learn about the sunglass boutiques and things like that? It's interesting what you can become accustomed to very quickly.
Well, you know what, though? We've said this about our kids. And I know I've written about this, that Hope just one day was on the come up. And we deal with this change in class and the adaptation to a middle class or upper class kind of situation tends to be pretty rapid.
Okay, so William and Randall are getting it in. I'm glad that Randall finally calmed down. You have so much right now. You're already successful at your job. You have a great family and everything. And William has this one thing. He wants to hang out with you. And this is why I said, I don't feel like they really have spent a lot of time getting to know each other. This is the first time that William has come up to his job. He was surprised, like, what are you doing
here?
And it seems like they just haven't spent this level of hanging out with each other because they just don't seem to always know how to match where each other is at. And I appreciate William. William is just not even thinking about what Randall is talking about. Randall is clearly uncomfortable. Randall like looking at his watch. So I'm about to, and just like a father does, whatever, we still gonna go and do whatever I want to do. So I appreciate that piece that was thrown in there because Randall is respectful. Some people would have been like, okay, Dad, bye.
When William asked him initially, he was like, oh, I'm working through lunch and, I can't go hang out with you. And William's like, oh, one of my grandmothers was amazeballs at this. She's like an Academy Award winner. Okay, well, when I'm dead and gone, you're going to remember these times that we could have spent together. Like William just kind of, I don't think that he really lays it on thick. Well, I mean, I do think he guilts Randall into like, I'm going to die. So, not too many good days like this again. He's going to have to step up his drama game, though. But Randall is like, okay, he's right. All right, I got to go. And each time, Randall is tight. He's respectful, but he is tight. Like, you've looked at like 1,800 pairs of sunglasses now. I think the last pair was a 10. Why don't you try those on again? When they get to the parking lot, he's like, okay, we went to like 3 different delis to find this drink, and then you haven't drank it, and now we're in a parking lot. So,
what's happening? And I could so relate to this because I have done this with my mother before, and I'm like, so what is going on, Mom? I mean, come on, let's get to the point of what we're trying to do. Finally, when William says that this was his dream come true, and the cool part is that Randall was able to make it happen. And, you talked about intimacy in the last podcast, and I felt like this was really another one of those moments that I was just really happy to see that
Mhm.
eventually Randall was able to calm down and just take in the moment of what is happening. I mean, it's not often that you are able to make someone's dream come true. And how
Right.
amazing
Especially when the
that.
dream is so simple,
Yes. So
right?
simple. And you will have other accounts and you already have a lot of money. And so
Right.
this one chance to make your biological father's dream come true was just amazing to me. I really like that piece of it. So
It was just really sweet. It also gave me hope about the impending doom that I feel about teaching my daughter how to drive. But it's so funny because like they're driving around the parking lot for like 15 whole minutes or whatever, but you don't know that they're still in the parking lot or that the car is going like 2 miles an hour.
he's like, whoa, I'm going too fast. Hold on. He's like,
And
just
the camera pans out and I'm like, they're in the parking lot. I mean, and that is how you learn how to drive, right? Like you don't leave the parking lot the first time out. Like you go to a big parking lot, you let your kid drive around. That's what my dad did with me. But it was just really funny because I'm like, woo, yeah, you're doing it. Like 15 whole minutes you've been driving. And then like the camera shot pans out and they're like going in a circle. And it's just precious. It's really precious. And it really did make me think about the tender moments that I have to look forward to with hope, despite the fact that I'm scared of death.
I'm sure Randall was too, because that's a BMW. So
Right.
yeah.
So that's, my rankings for this week.
I
Any
agree.
other highlights for you?
It was a pretty good episode. I'm glad we're back with the older children.
Good deal. Good deal.
So this has been our recap of This Is Us, episode 13. Don't forget to check out our most recent episodes of Add Water and Stir. And you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. You can check us out on Facebook and let us know what you think about our recap and digest. So ABM, where can they find you?
You can find me on my blog at adoptiveblackmom.com, on Pinterest, Twitter, and the Facebook at Adoptive Black Mom. And where can they find you, Mimi?
You can find me on my blog at mimirobinsononline.com, or you can find me on Twitter. And I've been tweeting a lot more at Mimi Complex. And that is all. So we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.